What is going on, Internet? Today you are in for a special treat. My man Nate has got a volley trick that's going to have you sticking your volleys like a pro, and it's not a technique like you got to study this and practice it. It's very much like a voila, do
you should
this.
feel it. You should feel it.
It's going to happen instantly.
What we're talking about is joint position. This was discovered with a private client.
Don't turn the camera
Ron.
off yet. This is going to be exciting. Nate's like joint position. The Internet's like,
But so we helped Ron discover this. Ron came in and trained with us, had really nice technique on his volleys, but just was kind of getting the ball locked in. Yeah, wasn't getting enough pop on it. So what we talked about was what he felt. And this is a question you should ask yourself a lot in tennis is, what do you feel? And so on the volley, if things are too passive, if the racket is listing below the ball, if you're horizontal, there's probably an issue with tension, right? So here is what we suggested, was in the ready position to create tension. I know that goes contrary to most of our instruction where you're going to lose tension.
You're not doing that like this. You're talking about the non-dominant hand.
100%.
So my grip still relaxed, and then I'm just popping it up.
And the part that we're talking about here is the inside of the wrist, right? That's where we want to create this tension.
So when you say tension, it's not squeezing, it's just like flexion almost.
So flexion and loading the wrist. We want to load the wrist. And the reason this is so important is when you go to hit your volley, we want to make sure that the racket head stays above the ball, racket tip up. And here you can see that my wrist is loaded. Now, when I do this, it's going to make it very obvious if I start to take the racket back too far. For players that keep the wrist neutral, a lot of times when they take the racket back, here it kind of seems like the racket tip is up, but I'm listed too much. And then what happens is that the racket wants to lay back too far.
So you're getting too horizontal, basically, and what we're looking for is a little closer to up and down.
We want more up and down, right? It'll limit the swing, but this is the second thing that it does. It also helps that when you go to make contact with the ball, with the wrist being loaded, it makes it easier to lead with the edge of the racket as opposed to having reverb, right? Like so if Scott, if you showed them a volley that was passive wrist, he takes the racket back this way, right? So as the ball is coming, when the ball hits, yeah, there's just too much reverb. We want to be firm here.
Cool, but what about on the backhand, right? That's where most players, I think, are probably going to struggle more on the backhand side. So is it the same? Am I still?
I think it's the quickest way to resolve issues with the backhand. I honestly think it becomes more intuitive once you start thinking about it. I think a lot of players do it unconsciously to when they go to hit their backhand volley, they take the elbow back, just like if you're slicing, and that loads the wrist.
Same tension,
but if you aren't loading the wrist in the backhand, it's way more destructive than what we'd see on the forehand, because now at this point you're working there's no dominant, you're working off the non-dominant side, there's no leverage out to the ball, so both sides load the wrist. Volleys will be a lot better.